In today's epistle to the Ephesians, Paul writes, I am an ambassador. By using the term ambassador, Paul is declaring that he has the authority to teach the gospel and represent Jesus as if Jesus himself were present. Paul is doing what an ambassador is supposed to do. That is, not speak for himself, but for the one who called him, qualified him, and sent him. So an ambassador has authority, but what does authority mean in this case? In seminary, the author of our textbook on Anglican apologetics, Father Frank Westcott, used an interesting anecdote to explain the principle of religious authority. Now let me summarize it here. So he says, 3 Englishmen present themselves to the president claiming to fill the ambassador's position. Now the first presents himself by saying, I am perfectly competent to represent my country as ambassador at Washington. I belong to a prominent English family and have been a member of Parliament, a conspicuous legislator, and I am familiar with English politics, and I do not see why I should not be ambassador. So this man thinks his experience qualifies him for the job. Well, the second man comes in and presents his reasons for being the ambassador. I am a trained diplomat. I have made a special study of political and social science. I have an honorable record, great persuasion powers in argument. I am clever and tactful. There is no reason why I should not represent England in America. Now, this man thinks his intelligence and skills qualify him. The third presents himself this way. Whether I am personally competent or not, as a simple matter of fact, I am the ambassador because I have been so appointed by the English government and I have my credentials here at hand. Westcott concludes this illustrating by writing, now, which one would the government at Washington receive? Would his reception turn on the question of his fitness or his authority? Most certainly on the question of his authority. And the strong presumption would be that if his government had selected him and sent him, he was a fit person to fill the office. Therefore, Westcott argues, Christian religious authority is based solely on Jesus' commissioning of Paul and the other apostles to teach in his name. The fisherman, tax collector, and tent maker were not qualified to represent Jesus because of intelligence or a desire to preach or even an inward call. It was Jesus giving them ministerial authority to speak for him. But it is this ministerial authority from Jesus transmitted by the apostles, or can it be simply learned and assumed by anyone? We as Anglo-Catholics, along with the Roman Catholics and Eastern Orthodox churches, believe Christ's commission to teach is transmitted through apostolic succession. This means that bishops possess authority handed down by the laying on of hands directly from the apostles. We live in a society where occupations such as doctors, dentists, and lawyers must be authorized by states to practice their professions. It is a way of protecting its citizens from people who lack credentials and may be unsafe. Yet the majority of churchgoers in our society never ask their ministers about their credentials. They never ask, by what authority do you teach in the name of Christ? If they did ask that question, in most cases, the answers would likely be similar to the answers given by the first 2 Englishmen, who considered themselves qualified to be ambassadors. Most ministers would say something along these lines. Because I went to school and was examined by other ministers and laymen. Or because I always had a strong desire to preach since I was a child. Or because God has apparently blessed my work with full pews and a successful Christian program. This is why I am an Anglican and worship here at St. Matthew's Church. Because here we are directly connected by apostolic succession to the Christ-given ministerial authority and ambassadorship of all apostles. Unto thee, O Lord,